There's an old line about boats that every marina bloke has heard 100 times. The two happiest days of a boat owner's life are the day he buys it and the day he sells it. For a while there, everyone forgot the second half of that saying. During the COVID years, half the country went out and bought a boat, cashed up and stuck at home, and it felt like the dream, the fishing, the harbour, the kids on the tube. Fast forward to now and go for a wander down any boat ramp or marina in this country and you'll see the truth of it. Rows of them, sitting on trailers under tarps, barely wet, quietly up for sale. Because a whole lot of Australians who bought a boat in the boom are now quietly trying to get out of it. And the reason isn't the boat, it's the bill. Today I'm going to show you exactly what one of these things actually costs you once the novelty wears off, why so many people are offloading them right now, and if you're tempted to buy one, how to do it without becoming the next bloke praying for that second happy day. A quick word on who's telling you this. Name's Greg. I'm 53 and I've spent 30 odd years with the tow vehicles that drag these boats around up on my hoist. So I've never sold a boat in my life, but I've heard what the boat behind the ute costs more owners than I can count, usually while they're paying me to fix the tow car that hauls it. Nobody pays me to say any of this. No dealer, no marine sponsor, no brand I'm pushing. And I'll be fair the whole way through, because for some people, a boat is the best money they ever spent, and I'll tell you exactly who that is. But for a lot of people, it's a slow leak in the bank account with a bilge pump attached. So let's do the sums nobody does before they buy. Here's the one thing to hold on to, and then I'll get into the real numbers. There's a joke in boating that isn't really a joke. They say BOAT stands for bring out another 1,000. And the reason it's stuck is that the purchase price of a boat is the smallest part of what it costs you. The real money is everything that comes after, and almost nobody adds it up before they sign. If you want the plain checklist I use before anyone buys anything that costs this kind of money, the questions that stop you signing up for a money pit, it's in my Honest Buyer's Guide. I've pinned the link at the top of the comments. Right. Let's follow the money. First, how we all got here. Because the boom was real and it was enormous. When the borders shut and nobody could fly anywhere, a boat looked like the perfect escape, out on the water, away from everyone, your own little bubble. And people poured in. New boat registrations hit a record of around 18,000 in a single year, up about 8,000 on the year before. The number of people with a boat licence in this country jumped by roughly 500,000, up to around 2.5 million. That's about 1 in every 10 Australians. Jet skis went off like a rocket. Dealers sold out, waiting lists blew out, and second-hand boat prices shot up because everyone wanted one at once and there weren't enough to go around. It was, for a couple of years, a genuine gold rush on the water. And exactly like every gold rush, the people who bought at the top, in the frenzy, are the ones feeling it now. And nothing tells that story better than the jet ski. They were the hottest thing on the water during the boom. The fleet swelled to something like 85,000 of them because they were the cheap, exciting way in. Except a jet ski is a boat that costs about as much to run and gets used even less because it's a toy, not transport. So a huge number of those got bought on a whim, ridden hard for one summer, and then parked in the garage, taking up space and losing money. Have a look on the marketplace apps right now, and you'll see them by the hundred, barely used, the asking price is dropping every week. The jet ski is the canary in the coal mine for this whole thing. Bought fast, used twice, and now can't be given away. So let's talk about what a boat actually costs to keep, because this is where it gets brutal, and this is the part the salesman skips. The rule of thumb across the trade is that a boat costs you somewhere between 5 and 10% of what it's worth every single year, just to own and run. Not to buy, to keep. So a $50,000 boat is quietly costing you $2.5 to $5 grand a year before you've caught a single fish. And where does that money go? Start with somewhere to keep it. If it's a big boat on the water, a marina berth in a city like Sydney can run you thousands of dollars per metre of boat per year. We're talking anywhere from $8,500 up to well over 30 grand a year just for the parking spot. A swing mooring's cheaper, a couple to a few thousand. Even if it's a trailer boat you keep at home, you're still paying to store the thing if it won't fit down the side of the house. Then the boat itself eats money, whether you use it or not. Antifouling, that's the special paint on the bottom that stops the sea life growing on it, has to be redone every year or so, and that's a couple of thousand to $5 grand each time. The engine needs servicing, several hundred to a couple of thousand a year. Insurance, $1 grand or $2 on a modest boat, and a lot more on a big one. Registration. And then the fuel, and boats drink fuel like nothing you've ever owned. A day out can burn through a couple of $100, easy, and over a season that's thousands. Add it all up, and you can see how a boat that felt like a 50 grand purchase turns into a machine that costs you the price of a decent second car every year, forever, just sitting there. And here's the gut punch, the number that makes grown men sell. How little you actually use the thing. The people who run the marinas will tell you the average boat sits idle about 10 months of the year, use maybe 2 months, 30 outings if you're keen. And a lot of owners nowhere near that. Overseas surveys that actually counted put it at under a month a year on the water. Think about what that means when you line it up against the costs I just gave you. You're paying for a marina berth, insurance, and anti-fouling 12 months a year to use the boat for maybe 20 or 30 days. There's a bloke who did the real maths on a premium boat kept on a Sydney marina. And once he counted everything, the berth, the fuel, the servicing, and the value it was losing, it worked out to somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000 for every single day he took it out. $1.5 grand a day, minimum, for a boat he owns. Now that's a fancy boat in the most expensive city, so a little trailer runabout is a fraction of that, but the shape of it is the same for everyone. A big fixed cost spread over a tiny number of days equals a shocking price per outing. The boat that was going to be your freedom becomes the most expensive hobby you've ever had, per hour by a mile. And I haven't even got to the biggest cost of the lot, the one that's completely invisible until you go to sell, depreciation. A new boat in this country loses somewhere around 20 to 30% of its value in the first 2 years alone, and 35 to 50% over 5 years, half gone. And here's the trap for everyone who bought in the boom. They paid top dollar at the peak when prices were inflated because everyone was buying at once. Now the frenzy's over, the used market is flooded. There are thousands of near new boats sitting for sale, and the buyers have all the power. So the bloke who paid $400,000 at the peak is looking at listings for the same boat now at $250,000. And if he financed it, he might owe more than it's worth. He's underwater in every sense. And that's the cruel bit about financing a toy that drops like a stone. The loan doesn't shrink as fast as the boat does. So he's stuck. He can't sell it without writing a cheque to cover the gap between what he owes and what anyone will pay. And he can't afford to keep bleeding money on a berth for a boat he barely uses. There's no good move. He just picks the least painful way to lose. That's the quiet disaster playing out on trailers and moorings all over the country. And it's why the second-hand market's suddenly full of barely used boats. Not because the boats are bad, but because owning one turned out to cost a small fortune to use a handful of times, and people have had enough. I had a bloke in the workshop not long ago getting the four-wheel drive sorted, and the boat came up the way it always does. He'd bought it for the kids, big family boat, all the toys, going to make memories. And he went quiet and admitted the kids had been out on it twice in 2 years. They're teenagers now and would rather be with their mates. And the thing had sat on the driveway so long, the trailer tyres had gone flat and square. He wasn't upset about the boat. He was upset about the money, years of rego and insurance and servicing on a thing nobody used, and now it was worth half what he paid. That's the story, over and over. Not a bad person, not a bad boat, just a big bill for a small amount of joy. So why is everyone getting out now, all at once? It's the same human story every time. They bought it on a wave of COVID money and cabin fever, took it out a bunch of times that first summer when it was new and exciting. And then real life crept back in. The novelty faded. The hassle didn't go away. The launching, the cleaning, the trailer, the weather that ruins the one weekend you're free. And then the cost of living came along and squeezed everyone. And when you're looking around the house for something expensive to cut, the boat you use 3 times a year and pay for 12 months a year is the first thing on the chopping block. And it's worth being honest about why the usage drops off, because it's not just the money. It's the hassle, and the hassle is real. Getting a boat out isn't like grabbing the car keys. You've got to hitch the trailer, tow it to the ramp, back it down without an audience laughing at you, launch it, and do the whole thing in reverse at the end of the day, then hose the salt off everything, or watch it corrode and store it somewhere. Add in that the weather has to actually cooperate on the one weekend you're free, and the kids have to be keen, and the fuel run isn't cheap. And what you find is that the boat quietly becomes too much effort for a tired Saturday. So it sits. And every weekend it sits, the little voice doing the maths in the back of your head gets a bit louder. It's not that they made a stupid decision. It's that a boat is a fantastic thing to want and a genuinely demanding thing to actually own, and the gap between those two only shows up after you've signed. Now, I promised I'd be fair, and I meant it, because a boat is absolutely worth it for the right person. If you're someone who genuinely uses it, a keen fisho who's out most weekends, someone who lives on the water, someone who'll rack up real hours on it, then the maths flips completely and it becomes a brilliant part of your life that a hire boat could never replace. The problem was never the boat. The problem is buying a big fixed cost to use a tiny number of times. So the honest test is dead simple. How many days a year will you really, truly use it? Be brutally honest with yourself, not the fantasy answer, the real one. Because if the number's small, there's a much smarter way to be on the water, and I'll get to that. So if you're tempted, or you're sitting on one wondering what to do, Here's exactly how to play it. 1. If you're buying, buy used, and let the first owner take that savage 20 to 30% hit in the first couple of years for you. In a flooded market, that's the smart money. You're buying his heartbreak at a discount. 2. Cost the running, not the buying. Before you fall in love with the sticker price, add up a year of storage, fuel, servicing, insurance and anti-fouling. And ask yourself if you'd sign up for that bill on its own, because that's the bill you're actually signing up for. 3. Do not finance a fast depreciating toy on a big loan, because the people underwater right now are exactly the ones who did. You never want to owe more on a boat than you could sell it for. And 4, the big one. If you're honestly only going to use it a handful of times a year, don't buy a boat at all, join a boat club or a share scheme, or just hire one for the days you want it. For casual use, it's around half to 2/3 cheaper. Someone else pays for the berth and the anti-fouling and the depreciation. And you just turn up, use it, and hand the keys back. All of the water, none of the bleed. Let me put some rough numbers on it so you can see it clearly. A boat club runs you maybe 3,000 to 8,000 a year, plus a bit per use. And you get access to a whole fleet without owning any of it. A share scheme lets you buy into a boat with a few other families from around 19 grand, splitting every cost. Or you just hire one for the day for a few $100 on the handful of days you actually want to be out. The rough rule the industry uses is this: unless you're going to use a boat more than about 80 hours a year, ownership doesn't stack up, and under about 20 hours, just hiring wins every time. So do that little sum honestly, because for most people the answer isn't buy, it's borrow. So here's where I'll leave it. There is nothing wrong with loving being on the water. It's one of the best things this country's got. But a boat is one of those purchases where the price on the tag is the beginning of the story, not the end. And the people offloading them right now are mostly the ones who found that out the hard way after they'd signed. Buy one only if you'll genuinely use it. Buy it used so someone else eats the depreciation. Add up the real running cost before you commit. And if you're a now and then boater, get your time on the water without owning the anchor around your neck. Want the boat. Just don't let the boat own you. All right, over to you, because I know a lot of you have lived this one. If you've owned a boat, be honest. How many days a year did you actually get it out? And were those 2 happy days the buying one and the selling one? And if you're still hanging on to one that barely moves, what's stopping you? No judgment either way. Someone watching right now has got their heart set on a boat and their hand near their wallet. And your straight answer is worth more than any dealer's pitch. Drop it below. Take care of yourselves out there. Do the sums before you sign, and I'll catch you in the next one.